Hello, Zimbabwe, and welcome to Zimbabwe Daily. This is yet another day that we bring you this conversation around elections. We are one day away from elections. Tomorrow, Chinenge Chakachaya, everyone is going to be placing their ballots on somebody. So it's quite interesting, and we are quite ready as a people, and I hope you're also ready. Your ID is in place, you know your polling station, you've got your backpack packed with a little eats so that should you have to stand in a long queue, you're also able to sustain the wait. So this conversation that we're bringing you in partnership with the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation to talk about electoral processes and young people. In studio, I've got two guests who are going to introduce themselves. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Awesome, you can start.
So my name is Karen Panzera. I'm the Information and Advocacy Officer at We Lead Trust. I'm a youth peace and gender champion.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is James Mpanga. I'm a social scientist. My interests are on everything that is affecting youth.
Right. And to because everything affecting youth is why we're here. Right. We are going to elections tomorrow. And as a young informal trader, what do you think are some of the critical issues that have been affecting young people in this election campaign? Takutari Saka, we've been campaigning for the past month or so, and now we are here. Tatarsana election Mangwana. What are some of these things that have been affecting the youth during this election process?
Okay, thank you so much, Yvonne. So, first of all, during this campaign, there has been a lot of challenges that has been facing my youth. For example, we can say the youth are not taking initiative a center stage in participating in the voting processes.
Okay.
Because from the onset, they have this mentality that they've already given up on the choosing of their elected candidates. Then there is this another issue of youths not participating by taking a position, like electoral positions, to be MPs and to be councillors. They don't have funds.
Okay.
For example, I was even speaking to other youth in the ghetto. They will testify with 1,000 yakawandisa for someone to go and
Nominate guys.
nominate first. So you see, it's another issue.
Yeah.
So we end up seeing my youth being used by those who are powerful, that have money. They are the ones who are even sent to beat people around there. If you look at the case of Glenora, it was the youth who killed another youth. So you see, we are killing each other in the name of protecting another parliamentary who is an older person. So you see, there is this what we also call the generational crisis between the young people and those of age because of gerontocracy. We always believe that the older people are the ones who are going to take the front row, but youth are the people who are invested in things that we know that we are seeing in each and every day. Things that are affecting us, we know them very well, but we are not taking center stage in participating in the electoral process. Then the other issue also, we are failing to mobilize ourselves to go and register to vote. If you see, 50% of our total population in Zimbabwe constitutes of youth, but the youth are not taking up the center stage in taking up the electoral process seriously. So you see, we are having a lot of problems during this electoral campaign, and also the youth are being forced to shut up their businesses so that they can attend my rallies. For example, what we have seen, the ZANU-PF rally, people were forced to shut up their businesses where this is their source of income. For example, the informal traders. Some of us to remain informal traders. We are just there in the streets. Takatoforcwa tikatoenda kurally and all those things. Because if you don't go to the rally, that means your table and you end up losing the source of income that you have to fund your life. So you see, we have a lot of problems that the youth are facing this electoral campaign.
Right. And he was raising some very interesting issues about the challenges that young people are facing. And I want to come to you with the issue that our constitution has made provisions for youth quota, women's quota in parliament. Now, when you consider those quotas, do you think that the these quotas they cater to the objective of increasing youth and women participation in electoral processes?
Definitely not. And we'll always reiterate, especially with the youth quota, that it was not youth driven. It's a decision that was made by the executive for the youth. And if things are for the youth, then they should be by the youth.
Right.
So the youth quota is offering 10 seats for young people who constitute 67.7% of the total population of Zimbabwe. In the 2018 election, there was a 2.85% representation of youth in parliament, and that was 6 young people out of the 210 seats. And giving 10 seats, I think it's absurd in the context of proportional representation.
Right.
So the youth quota does not in any way work to improve the participation of young people in governance processes. And also, it does not have a gender component. That means that in the 2023 election, it's possible to have 10 young men in the youth
Okay.
quota. It does not have a disability component as well. That means that young people with disabilities could not be represented in the youth quota as well. So there is need for revision of that youth quota, and there is need for government to realize that whenever that they realize that they need to introduce these things, they need to make sure that young people are involved in
Right.
the process of coming up with the quota. And speaking of the women's quota, it was there from 2013 to 2023, 10 years. What process was there? A monitoring and evaluation process to say that how did adding 60 women in parliament through the quota improve women's participation in governance processes? What is it that the quota did that we can say, you know what, they did this and that, and
So
this
let's
shows that
continue with
quotas
it.
are working.
Okay.
So instead of quotas, I would say that we need to make sure that we have a gender sensitive and a youth friendly environment that enables young people and women to run for office, and just dealing with whatever barriers that are there that are making young people to shy away from participating and from running as candidates. So the youth quota and the women's quota are just a way, of they are a divergence from the mainstream.
Right.
So we can't afford to have those. Let's just make sure that the environment is youth friendly and gender sensitive.
I like how you put it, because then we run with there's a youth quota, there's a women's quota, and then we block out women and young people from the mainstream because we are saying there's a quota for you, there's a quota for you there. And I think it's really important that as policymakers, they look at these things and really consider how they affect young people. Now, talking about that, do you feel that the way that our politics has been run, the governance structure of things have been run, affect your businesses as young people, affect your ability to contribute meaningfully to national development?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, for raising that. I think the issue of first thing that is affecting my youth is the issue of the policies that are put into place. Like I can agree with what Karen has been saying. The policies that are they are not youth friendly, and they are not conducive to the youth. For example, we can take even the issue of the policies that are put by the town council, even the Arada City Council, for the youth. You will see that they are affecting youth, the informal sector players most likely, because when there is distractions of those structures, what they call
Illegal.
illegal structures, you see. So the youth are always the people who are suffering,
Right.
the big people of the people, of all the people. Then you could also see the other issue of even the way the loans are being diversified to the people. Even the issues of devolution money and everything, it's not even reaching the youth. They can't collect loans because we don't have the collateral. You'll be said we need the collateral of a house or a car, but I don't have a car. So how
Right.
can I get a small loan to start a business? You see, the other issue also, the issue of inflation is also affecting the youth. You can start a business, no, I can have these profits back and everything, but you see that you are not going to reap anything because by the time you want to go to no order again, the money has already lost the value. So you see, there are issues that are affecting youth. Even the way the informal sector has been forgotten. There are no funds to support the informal sector industry. For example, someone will be put Coca-Cola. It's not a catchment area.
Right.
People are walking in the town. This is where they can have the market. So by the time they come, where some are like their property cannot use my streets paper, it's now late because the people will be not be there. So you see with the issue of informal sector also how it is arranged. It's also affecting my youth.
Right.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that you come and really speak on the economy around the informal sector and how we've treated that sector, given that it's actually a huge sector in our country running the economy. What would you say when you look at the state of our personal freedoms? Like, do you feel that there is that individual freedom? For me, as an individual, Sayvonne, ndikuda kuzviitira zvinhu zvangu, am I safe? Am I free? What's your view on that?
Okay, so I think the conversation on individual freedoms is a very wide one. So I'll just speak, in the context of the election that we have tomorrow. And of course, the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which is the supreme law of the land, provides, in Chapter 4, the Bill of Rights, and it speaks to the different, individual freedoms, rights that we have as the people of Zimbabwe. But in the context of the upcoming election, we've seen, the infringement of, various rights. I can give reference maybe to the right to freedom of expression, where we've seen the government or security forces trying to use judiciary, the judiciary weaponization against maybe the media, against human rights defenders, against political activists, and opposition politicians as well. Where they don't want dissenting voices. Yet, for a government to function, what's wrong with having people with different views and pointing out the wrong things that are being done? So we've seen infringement of the freedom of association as well, where we've seen members of the security forces closing the door for some of the rallies. Yet, those are things that are provided for in the Constitution
Right.
under freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and we've also seen different political activists also who are currently jailed.
Right.
So I think it's been a whole lot. And speaking maybe from the time that we had by-elections last year, we did see several people dying because of infringement of their rights to association, rights to freedom of assembly. The Kwekwe rally last year in March, we saw
Right.
one young person, one young man dying. We also saw more Blessing Ali dying. And now recently we had the Glenview
Tinashe
yes,
Chitsonge.
yes, dying as well. So I think the state of individual freedoms,
Yeah, yeah,
Eh,
and
eh,
yesterday we had an incident in Bari where supporters of Triple C were coming from the rally and they were attacked in Bari, and there were a number of people who were actually injured. So I think that issue of individual freedom still need to be seriously addressed. Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to ask you, as a young person operating within the space of non-governmental organization, civic society. When you look at pieces of legislation such as the Patriot Bill, as well as the mooted PVO bill, how has this affected your work?
So like I said, judiciary is being used as a weapon in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the laws that you then see being enacted, like the Patriotic Bill, you tend to question what is patriotism? Like, who is defining patriotism?
Right.
Is it support for a certain political party or what? So, these different laws that are being enacted are affecting the work of the civic society. And I believe that for a country to function, we also need a functioning civic society, like who then keeps the checks and balances on the government. What's wrong with asking the government for some, or calling out the government for some of the wrong things that they're
Right.
doing?
Yes,
What's wrong
accountability.
with
Yeah.
us as young
Transparency.
people saying we denounce the youth quota because it doesn't have a gender component, and we feel that 10 seats are not enough for 67% of the population?
Right.
Definitely, there is nothing wrong with that. And why then would, legal instruments be used on young people? So it has been really affecting our work, and I also believe that it's affecting general young people who are out there
Right.
and who want to engage the government or to be involved in civic issues. So, speaking of the PVO bill, I
Right.
believe that most bills that are currently not signed will lapse today. So, I'm hoping that in the next government, we won't have that coming back. So, the government should stop weaponizing, the judiciary or legal instruments. We are just young people who are trying, to call out when there are wrong things that are being done, and there's nothing wrong. I will always say that. And I don't know. I always ask, who defines patriotism? Like, within the context of the Patriotic Act, what is
Right.
patriotism?
Right.
That act is so vague in trying to make sure that we the citizens are patriotic.
Right.
So yeah.
I agree with you, and I love the eloquence that you speak, and the fact that you're awoke. You know what's actually on the ground. And I want to ask this question: do you feel that young people are sufficiently conversant with their rights? Do they know?
Yeah, I can agree on that one. But the young people are quite aware of their rights,
Okay.
but the fear of persecution is always crippling us as young people.
Okay.
We have been socialized in an environment that is highly political, in a political sensitization area.
Right.
So we end up not even putting into practice our rights because we know them. But for us to raise a voice, it will be an issue. For example, we can take an example of Job Scala and Jacob Ngaruvume that are languishing in prison for almost 2 years right now. And it's taking us as a youth, and you want to raise a voice, you know that you end up behind.
Right.
So we know our rights,
But
but the environment is not conducive for us to speak out. So you see, it's always an issue that the fear of persecution is always in youth. So we end up giving up. We are now ending up doing drugs uh, as a way of just
coping.
coping, exactly.
Okay.
So you see the issue in the ghetto there.
Right.
If you want to discuss anything that is political or political related, you'll be
Mm-mm.
seen as someone who is an agent of change. So they do not want to hear anything like that. But if you
Right.
talk of Mtoriro and taking what is there these days, Brongo and everything, they'll be very happy because that's what they want. They are now seeing. So we have been socialized in that way. We have been I don't know what to say in this political environment that I have grown up to, but it's only a few who are wise enough to speak out of these issues. But the rest of us, we know our rights, but we don't have any power or
And
voice to
I
say
see you're
them.
itching to say something.
Yes, yes. So I was laughing with someone recently and saying in last year and this year, the theme for the National Youth Day, the 21st of February,
Movement, yes.
was along drugs and substance abuse. And I was saying, yes, youth are the most affected by this pandemic, the substance use,
Right.
yes. But then I believe that it's now a narrative that older people are using to say, young people are pathetic, they use drugs, they do this. And we are taking away the attention of people from all the good things that young people are capable of doing and are
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah.
So I always say that I will always push the narrative that young people have always pushed the agenda of having, a prosperous Zimbabwe. And young people have always led revolutions. They've always led the direction of the country in Zimbabwe. And we can give reference to young people led the liberation struggle.
Right.
Young people mobilized other young people to fight the liberation struggle and, give the independence that we are enjoying today. And from different epochs, we've seen young people leading
Right.
in different aspects of the country. And there's a research by the Youth Empowerment and Transformation Trust yet,
Yeah.
which showed that 1 in 5 young people know about the Constitution.
Right.
So it also means that civic education really needs to be taken seriously in the country.
Yeah.
If we are going to take constitutionalism and put that into our curriculum, that is going to be a great thing, because young people do not really know about the Constitution, the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, and that is another reason why we have low participation of young people.
And of course, the responsibility that lie in there. I saw that you wanted to say something again.
Okay. It seemed like when we just having a conversation, I just thought of the raw population,
Right.
the raw youth. Those who are in town only in urban areas, maybe we know some of our rights because they are also civic organizations that are doing the civic
Most of
education
the work,
on
yeah.
yeah. So taking for example a youth in the rural area, some of them they don't even know their rights. So it's good for us to take our campaigns even to the rural area so that they know. Because I was there recently, like 3 days ago. I was in Karoi,
Okay.
Zangara. I don't know the place there. But you see, Kuti, it was a funeral for somebody who is a powerful person politically. But you see, the people who are being used up front, they are the youth.
Right.
They are wearing capes and t-shirts regalia for another political party, which I don't even to mention now. But you see, Kuti, they are the people who are being even used to fight for that person who are on power.
Right.
On what they only want is Nkozodo and Mtorino for that hour, and only a drink and
Of course, yeah.
Mabans, and they go. But they are forgetting about their future. So I was just having a conversation with some of them when we were just talking. I was like, "Do you know we have the right to vote?" Then he was like, no, I know I have the right to vote, but for that person that I'm going to vote, tuzobatwa kumaseo. I was like, no, it doesn't even like it's a secret. Your vote is a secret. Nobody knows you. So that I know here we are counted. So when somebody doesn't have to score the number of the people who are in the cells, then it means there is somebody who defaulted. You'll be looked after. You'll be followed there. I was like, hey, it's tough.
There's a lot of intimidation.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff like
So
that.
you see, with most of the youth in urban areas, they are aware of their rights, but they are afraid to speak. But in the rural areas, I think we still have more a long journey to educate the youth
You
so
know,
that they know their rights.
as you're speaking, I thought of something, based on what's happening right now. Tomorrow we're going to be casting our ballots and stuff like that. And there are some people who wanted to, to be observers, but they were denied that opportunity on the
Exactly.
basis of security reasons, and you're just looking at, I'll talk of one young person in particular, because I then said, why are you a security risk? And he says, because we are unashamed when we post on our platforms, when we speak on different platforms, we are not ashamed to state a problem where there's a problem. Now, I want to ask you about the issue of cyberbullying. Is it a factor could it have affected maybe the way young people have taken up even leadership roles in political parties, different political parties, or even to participate fully in this election?
So I would say that young people are now using the internet as a space for participation since the space has been closed on the ground. So that means that cyberbullying is a great issue and that needs to be taken care of. So, prior to the election, I've seen a number of young women who are running as candidates, being abused online
Right.
from some of the things that people say. You see that this is the reason why young women are actually shying away from running as candidates. I remember during the 2018 election, or even now, you see a lot of people speaking to the women like Fadzi Mahere, asking, questioning some of the things that are not questioned when we come to young men or men who are running for election. No
Right.
one questions older people, no one questions older men. But when it comes to young women and young men, people start to have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Is she married? Why was she involved with whoever and whoever? But why do you never ask those
China
questions?
tingathinganirwa
Yes,
nezvanesva.
exactly.
And yet you need our
Yeah,
energy, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. So a lot of abuse has been going on
Right.
online, and despite having that Data and Security Act,
Right.
yeah, I think it's not really being used to protect young people or young women online, or the selective application of the law. I don't
Right.
know. So a lot of abuse has been happening online, and I always believe that it affects young women more than everyone else.
Right.
And it needs to be dealt with. um, I don't know if it's the police, but they need to make sure that there is no incentivizing of those people who are abusing people online.
Right.
So you see, there are people who are abusing people online, and you then see them with the president, or you see them with powerful people, or you see them just going about their business and bragging
Right.
about some of the
Yes.
things that they do. That means we are incentivizing people who are abusing people online. So that needs to be dealt with, and we need to do away with selective application of the law. We saw Fadzi being arrested recently on allegations of false
Communicating falsehoods.
yes, on Twitter. But how many people on Twitter are doing the same for human rights defenders and everyone else, but they are just going about their business. So I think it's been a lot, and I believe that it's affecting young women mostly. And recent statistics from the ZEC showed that there are 70 women running for the 210 seats, the 210 parliamentary seats.
Right.
But out of a total of, is it 600,
548, if I'm not
somewhere
mistaken.
there,
Yeah.
candidates, only 70 women. And how many young women are there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah.
So the space is not safe, especially for women, and something definitely needs to be done. And I believe it's about political will. We might be having, so many policies and acts governing
Yeah.
cybersecurity in the
Right.
country,
Right.
but it's also about political will. If there is the political will to protect young people and young women online, then
Right.
it should be done.
I like that because then it brings me to my maybe final question around accountability, transparency amongst the elected officials. I think we've come to the full circle of the 5-year electoral season that we've had. We're now going into the next one. And knowing all of this, I think when we started this conversation around the informal sector and elections, we brought in different people, and especially young people, to say, where are you? Are you represented? And one of the major issues is that the informal sector is not represented amongst those who are actually contesting in this election, and that it will be of good interest that in the next cycle we begin to groom people, we begin to conscientize people so that they take up such positions. But I want to know if people are aware, or they have that ability or capability to hold elected leaders to account. James?
Okay, so first of all, I also participated in the Alpha campaign
Okay.
at VISET. So it was a platform that was trying to bring the elected officials and the people on asking them how far have they completed their promises during the elections
Right.
and holding them accountable. So you see, there is need for what I think we will term it as community consultative meetings with elected officials, so that we can
But these are
demand.
always, politicized. I mean, sorry to cut you there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the moment a ZANU PF councillor calls for a ward uh, consultative meeting or something, people begin to think it's ZANU PF. It's a ZANU
ZANU-PF
PF
related business.
program.
Yeah.
If it's Triple C, they will think it's Triple C. If it's MDC, they will think it's an MDC business. Now, how best can we make people aware that after an election, every elected official should be accountable to me regardless kuti ndiyo andakavhotera here kwani kwete, because we are saying kuti an election is then coming up with a consensus to say this one is the preferred candidate regardless, but tinoramba takapfeka mabhachi edu tonoita maslogan kuma-consultative meeting acho handiuye because maybe I don't subscribe to your political gimmicks and stuff like that.
So
Yeah.
you see, it's always a problem when it comes to holding those elected officials accountable. It's always a problem because one thing for sure, I think you can testify with it. Some of even Wamama Kasarudza 2018, we are now seeing them. They are coming for 2023. The
Right.
person whom we are even selecting, Agareko, in I stay in Fabos, but the MP there is always there, but some of them they don't have even a platform right. So you
Okay.
can't just hold them accountable. But I think there is a way for us to solve that issue. So that's why we are trying to find out how can we do it. We have to formulate what I have termed community feedback meetings
Right.
that consist everybody, not privatizing the meeting with this is MPF meeting or this is a triple C meeting,
Right.
just because the elected person is coming from a certain political party. So we are just going to have community consultative meetings, even though to make use of those community halls where we can write down even everything that the MP has done.
Promised and done. I
Exactly,
like that.
updating it every week, every weekend, every month, so that we can hold them accountable.
Right.
Then also I think we can also make use of external platforms that we can also use. For example, we can write to the parliament that is the constituents in Fagos, we are not happy with what is happening.
Right. Giving people the right to recall.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
So that we can even submit it to the parliament, to the speaker of parliament, so that he can be aware of what is happening on the ground.
Right.
Because most likely these elected officials, we are not just seeing them because they it's the politics of the stomach. They just want to put food on their table.
Right.
If it is something that is politically related, you could see that there is always ZANU-PF members who are there because it was an MP of ZANU-PF that was elected. So you see, with a cup of rice, somebody who is a triple C person start to feel guilty. With a cup of rice because we are tinenzara Zimbabwe. So you see, it's always
Right.
political of the stomach. But we have other ways that we can also formulate so that we can hold these guys accountable. We have to have a voice as a community. This is something that is lacking in our communities. We have to
Right.
stand up and,
Okay.
and hold them accountable because it's always them in the time that they are going to campaign only.
Right. And I'm really praying and hoping that these conversations will actually continue because I think they are really, really enlightening. And I see you're itching to say something.
Yes, so the spirit of accountability, ayimo Zimbabwe.
Ayimo. Yeah,
Yes.
even at a
From
home
a
level.
national level, up to
Even
the most
local
grassroots
level.
level. Yes.
Right. Baba cha
Tomorrow-
hadi kutaura ndotambira mari haitaurwi. But anyway, yes.
Yeah. So tomorrow we are voting. And post the 2018 election, there was violence, and we had the Motlanthe Commission being set up. Recommendations of that commission were given, but did anyone take, or was anything done to make sure that, my recommendations at that commission ayitwa. They were trying to set up a commission better deal with individuals being abused by members of the security forces. But we are now going to another election, and that commission was then never set up. Tikangoguma kuchitwa consultations and
And
things
full
like
stop,
that.
yeah.
Yes, that means that kutova accountable in this country is a huge problem from a national level up to the most grassroots levels. You vote for councillors, they just go, they never come back. You vote for MPs, they don't even account. What did they use? The community
devolution,
development fund,
Mm.
the devolution, Shandei.
Mm.
Like no one really wants to be accountable for anything. And sometimes when you are trying to follow up and say, what's going on with this, what's going on with that, then they start saying, no, go and see this person, no, go to that office, go to that person, go to that person. Yesterday, we were having a conversation on youth participation in different processes, in decision-making processes. And we raised the issue that the National Youth Policy provides that in every government institution, young people should be represented.
Represented, yeah.
They are not up to now. The Minister of Youth, the Honorable Kirsty Coventry, promised us the Youth Act when she was starting in 2018. Another election is there tomorrow. We still don't have the Youth Act. It's still a bill, and it's been so many months. It's been sitting in their offices. So again, you see that no one is accountable, and they also don't want to be accountable about their role and their mandate to ensure that young people participate in these processes. And it's their mandate according to the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Section 20, is their mandate according to the African Youth Charter, to which Zimbabwe is a signatory, and other international instruments as well. But
Wow.
no one wants to take accountability.
No.
Yet legally, they are mandated to. So accountability is really a problem, and I think it's a matter of taking social and economic accountability, monitoring, education to people out there. Maybe
Right.
that can help.
And I would call upon the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation to make sure that these and such similar conversations continue, in that we are able to build a community that is accountable. In closing, what are your final words to the young people?
We'll reiterate this: show up to vote tomorrow.
Mhm.
Choose the person that you want to represent you in the various decision-making bodies, in the various decision-making processes that are there in the country. The people that we are going to choose tomorrow are the ones who are going to be making laws for the 5 years, for the next 5 years. They are the ones that are going to be determining our state of service delivery in our communities in the next 5 years. We are the ones who are going to be standing up in queues at boreholes. We are the ones who are going kungetivesa moto in the cities. We are the ones who are going to be having my roads as nakunak because of the decision that we are simply going to make tomorrow. So to young people, show up to vote and decide who is going to represent you for the next 5 years.
Excellent. And
Okay,
Mr. James.
thank you. First of all, to young people, what I can say is, I don't know how for now, are you going to participate? But myself, come 2028, I'll be participating in the ballot box. You'll be voting for me because I want to represent the voice of the youth. One, we have to be represented by the youth for the youth. Then the other thing, young people, let's go out and vote in peace. Don't be used for Motorino and $2 for that day. Please, 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 don't be used. It's better for us to queue for to the war of tomorrow than to queue in the banks, in the balls, in the buses, Zupu, everywhere we are having queues. It's better to take queue Mambana so that we can vote for change, so that we will see a change. We need a change in this country. So it's the duty of us as young people to go and change the system. We have to change what is on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So
Yeah,
go out and vote for those who are representing your
exactly.
interests. Is the message coming to you from James and Karen? My name is Yvonne Muchaka, and this is Behind the Microphone, a program that looks at issues happening behind the big headlines. Tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow, you will be electing your councillor, your MP, and your president who will run the affairs of this nation for the next 5 years. So the clarion call remains. Let us all go in our numbers. Let us cast our ballots. Please don't draw on the ballot papers. Vote for somebody who is there on no ballot slip, and make sure that you don't straddle the lines, you don't do funny things on the ballot papers. Let's go and do the best that we can and allow Zimbabwe to transform. It has been a pleasure being with you. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of day. Thank you, guys. I didn't thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
such a
Yvonne.
brilliant
Thank you, Yvonne.
conversation. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
it's bye bye for now.
Yeah.